there is increased tensions between Turkey, Greece, and you could argue EU over rights to natural resources in the Eastern Mediterranean. Turkey claims that the international laws and the treaties from post-World War I treaties are unfair and doesn't address its rights, its I guess God-given rights due to the fact that it has the longest coastline on the Eastern Mediterranean. And at the same time, EU and Turkey and Greece are accusing Turkey of using gunboat diplomacy, using strongman tactics. Especially, they are focusing especially on Erdogan. Macron is very clear in focusing on Erdogan and saying that he has no problem with Turkish people, but Erdogan is a aggressive leader. This seems to be largely due to the fact that there is increasingly, they are finding gas in the Eastern Mediterranean, and countries like Turkey, Greece, Egypt, Israel, Palestine, and Jordan, and Italy, they all, and apparently France, even though it doesn't really have doesn't have much coastline, they all want to exploit that natural resource. This kind of this probably, in an interesting way, ties into our other stories in a way about gas and Nord Stream 2 and Russia, because as we see, both Turkey and EU are very much hungry for gas, for cheap gas, for cheap energy. So they're all after that. And our viewers, the people who left comments, they mostly argued that Turkey is on the wrong because they have a legal option they can pursue, but they don't because they know they can get more through their aggressive foreign policy. I kind of see their point because they're
some kind of court or something, or taking this dispute to a court or something. What are these legal means that they're referring to?
Oh, I believe there is an international arbitration court they can use to, and I don't remember the specific legal means, to be honest, but there are legal means for them to negotiate a more balanced settlement, which they don't pursue, which then, that's the argument, which then leads Greece to push for its maximalist arguments on its territory, because what Greece argues is that the islands of Greece should be counted as same as the territory of Greece, even though some of them are uninhibited.
So the buffer zone, so they mean that the buffer zone, that there should be a buffer zone for the islands too. So anything within that buffer zone that in other cases would fall under that country's power, they want that to fall under their territory, as if it was the ocean or the sea just on their main border.
Exactly. And they're like, again, last week, Cyprus government, which is basically the Southern Cyprus government, which is a pro-Greece government, they again accused of Turkey of illegal drilling, illegal exploration of the Eastern Mediterranean Sea, but the tensions seem to be easing. Thankfully, Turkey seems to be open to talks, and Greece seems to be open to talks now, although the relation between Turkey and France seems to have, remains very tense, basically. But the update I wanted to give that, I definitely see the argument that Turkey has a legal, when I looked into it, Turkey definitely has a legal option that can lead to a negotiated settlement that benefits every party. But I do think there are issues from the Turkish perspective. There are two issues from the Turkish perspective. One is that they seem to have lost all trust in EU and international bodies and international players. Especially they feel snubbed on the joining of the EU issue. They feel snubbed on the uh, Eastern Mediterranean Gas Forum uh, uh, issue because they weren't included, but Egypt and even Palestinian territories were included. You know,
Wow.
so, sorry.
I said, wow.
Oh yeah, and so they feel definitely snubbed, and there may have been racial or xenophobic elements to the fact that why they were snubbed.
And there's also
Right.
a migrant deal that they had made with the EU that's completely fallen apart now.
Yeah, that's I think that's more of a result of these
Mhm.
things. So and there are strong elements within Turkish military who are promoting of uh, uh, this idea of called blue homeland, which they say it's quite interesting because I'm Iranian. I come from uh, some of my background is Turkish, and there is this general historical thing that Turks were afraid of water because this is something that in Game of Thrones has inspired certain elements in Game of Thrones because they're not sorry afraid of water, they're afraid of sea or oceans because horses they don't drink salt water, and because the Turkish nomadic tribes they regarded horses as divine animals and stuff. They wouldn't, they regarded uh, salt water somewhat fearfully.
Mhm.
But this has changed in the last 100 years, and now there are certain people within Turkish military who are strong believers of this concept of a blue homeland. So I think uh, people politicians like Erdogan are somewhat under pressure to, to what do you say, to, I suppose, to address these, um, internal, requests for an increased, for an increased nationalism. So I don't know how much Erdogan necessarily believes in this blue homeland concept, but when you have people you know pressuring you from inside, then you're forced to sometimes act externally.
Yeah.
And but I do see that Turkey's is acting like a strong man to an extent when it comes to Greece. But then again, you have to, from Turkish perspective, Greece is a former what do you say, a former state they've lost. I don't think this is a necessarily a justified way of looking at things, but that's how they view things. So that's probably why they don't they don't seek a more peaceful way of resolving these things because they see themselves as a rightful owner of all of these lands and waters.
Interesting. Okay. So pretty much there are talks going on now then, but not they haven't reached anything.
No, but yeah, tension has eased significantly. Both parties seem to have backed down, kind of like the India-China story, which, to be honest, that was quite interesting because I said I can't see how they can reduce tensions, and then a week later, both India and China announced that they're gonna withdraw all their troops very quickly. So yeah, um, same seems here they've just started talks, but hopefully it will lead to easing of tensions. Turkey seems to be continuously pushing its exploration and its drilling agenda nonetheless though.